is with this idea of we know that build a list, build a life, right? So I'm really interested in your perspective on that because I know you've come at this from a different angle than most, and which is one of the things I love about you. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you got engaged in list building, what and why it is that you did that? And I suppose that's for you, Travis, to be able to explore and share. Look, I wanted the life, and this was the vehicle, and or whatever it is that you want to
Yeah,
say, right?
yeah, that's great. That's my favorite part of this whole journey is discovering those little things. And really, it all boils to leverage
Hmm.
because we were looking for areas that we have leverage. And looking back at my own experience, I worked in email. Just so happens that when I worked in Silicon Valley, I ended up working for a company that was an infrastructure company that built the foundations of all web-based email. And so that was essentially what I sold. And
Hmm.
I sold basically every one of those clients. And as I pushed the deal structure higher and higher in that company, every relationship that I started, almost without exception, came from beginning with an email. And
Hmm.
so that was one thing that probably shaped everything else. And then when I come into this portion of life, it was looking at, well, we're good at advertising. We're good at getting people to respond to ads. The easiest thing or the best thing you can do with an ad is to start a relationship, is start a conversation so that you can talk to them again. And so then to just have leverage, I just recognized that there was leverage in a list that there wasn't if you were directly selling things. So it's just the natural evolution of just being really stoked with direct response. Like I love the idea of being able to immediately give somebody something that's going to improve their life so much that they have to take action right now. And if they buy it and they use it, it will actually make a difference. That used to get me really excited. Since I'm a little kid, I got excited with the guys at the fair that were selling something that's really cool. And I'm going to be able to, I don't know, turn water into whipped cream or whatever it was.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the magic stuff. I always wanted to be able to be a part of that and being able to sell that is super powerful. And so I always wanted to learn how to do that. And being able to do that was cool. But then I realized that was one and done. Like you never had any relationship. You didn't have anything after that. So then when I just started putting an email capture in front of that, I was like, oh wow, now I have an asset. Now I have something that's actually has long-term potential, and I have the potential to do more to influence that person's life. So it was just like thought-wise, the evolution of it was just how can I do more or how can I give people more at the same time while I'm also creating a little bit more leverage out of everything that I'm already doing. And
Very good.
the more that I did that, I recognized that really that's the foundation. That's the biggest deal is to start a
Hmm.
relationship. And that's where I started to have bigger partnerships with people that also recognize they could build their whole business around that one thing. If you can just get somebody's attention, create an audience of people that you can help or that you can have a real relationship with in a one-on-one setting, which is also really powerful about email. And
Hmm.
then the world's your oyster because now you can serve them in multiple different ways. And if you can figure out how to monetize that quickly, then you're off to the races.
Very good. Excellent. Yeah. One of the things I like about you, because I've obviously been in your program, one of the things I really liked was the approach of finding your tribe, finding, like you said, those people who you genuinely want to help, which I think oftentimes what can happen in the online world is people sell a product as opposed to serve a community. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense? That's one of the things I really like about your philosophy, essentially, and your approach to doing all of this. Can you tell me a little bit more about, because I know, and like pre, one of the things that I really like too is this idea of when you were building your life, when you were choosing what you wanted to do, you kind of designed that and then thought, okay, what do I need to make that happen? Could you speak to that a little bit more? Because I really like
Yeah,
that.
man, that's the thing that I get excited about is because there were so many things you can do. And just long story short, there was a time where I had like a very normal life. I had a successful business. I had the house. I had a country club membership. I had fancy cars. I had all this stuff, but
Hmm.
I really kind of hated my life. All of that went away. And I ended up looking to what would I really want to do with my own life. And so
Hmm.
I set out on a journey to just go figure that out.
Hmm.
And so that happened without work. And I eventually ran mostly out of money doing that. And then I came back and I was like, oh, I can just start an online business. I'm a really smart guy. I've been successful with all this other business. Like, I'll just
Hmm.
start something online and I'll be fine. Be able to do whatever I want to do. That didn't work so good. I
Hmm.
followed all the shiny objects. I tried all the things because really what I was chasing was how can I make money? And so I
Yeah.
was really looking at it from the perspective that most people do, which is what's the easiest way to make money? What's the best market? What's the thing? What's the thing that's going to work? What's the next best thing? And that ran me completely out of money.
Hmm.
And to the point where I was living in my car. And at that point, I started doing things differently because
Hmm.
you're struggling. Like you have to survive. And it's also like a super kick in your gut.
Oh yeah.
But aside from that, you start to recognize things. And as I was digging out of that, which is a different story altogether, I started to ask myself the question, like, what would I do if there were no limitations, if money wasn't a thing? What do I really want? And if nothing was unrealistic, and I'm like, I really want to go surfing. Like, I would love to be a professional surfer. And so I thought about what that was like. And I'm like, okay, what would have to happen in order for that to be reality? For me to surf every day. Start to break that down into what does that really mean? If I go surfing every day, I want to go surfing every day. I would only be in locations that have surf. So I'd be around the ocean and nature. I would be super athletic. I would, I'm sure that my wife still want to hang out with me and I would age well. Like all of those things, I could put those things together and I'm like, okay, well, this is what it looks like. This is what the dream to me is. And I'm like, if that was a job, what does that look like? Lots of guys make a living competing at surfing. I can't do that because I'm at the time I'm almost 40 years old. I'm not that good of a surfer. That's probably not going to. And then there's these other guys that get paid to be models or things like that. I'm not that pretty. That's not going to happen either. But there's one other thing that all professionals do, professional athletes do, is they all have sponsors. And for those sponsors, they're obliged to do certain things, whether that's to get your picture taken or to show up at events or to hawk products or whatever it is. It's an obligation. And I'm like, I wonder if I reframed all of life into I'm a professional surfer and everything I do for somebody else is sponsorship for me as a surfer. And that shift right there, that one thing allowed everything to turn around because now I had a story that I told people that was different. I am never pitching you on anything. I'm having a conversation with you. If there's something I can do for you, and I legitimately can help you, whether it was at the time, whether it was building a website, advertising for an email list, if it was strategic consulting, whatever it was, I would tell you that I could do this for you. And then I would frame that from the context of that is a sponsorship for me to go surfing. So surfing would come first, your stuff would be the thing, and you
Yeah.
would, as a deliverable for your sponsorship, you would get what you wanted.
Yeah.
So it was just a
Brilliant.
different story, even though
Hmm.
I'm doing whatever it takes so that I can support
Yeah.
this life. But that became the focus.
Hmm. I
And
love that.
that made a huge difference. And it also was a great filter because anybody who didn't buy into that or they didn't love that story, they don't end up working with me. I don't have to work with assholes anymore because
Hmm.
they're only buying into my story.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I love that. That's a great mindset, essentially. I remember, just to add to that, I remember years ago in my youth when I was a sales guy for a corporate company, one of the most successful sales guys said basically he was his name, whatever, Bob Marsh LLC or Limited in Ireland. And basically he was using the company he worked for to facilitate his life. So so that clearly is the mindset of successful people. I love that, Travis. That's really good.
Thanks, man. I think That's the thing about it. That's the mindset. That's almost the thing that I'm most excited to share with people, because if
Hmm.
people get that, then all of the other tactics matter much less. Like you could take
Hmm.
this same idea, just like you said, and working a corporate job, if that's your mindset and that's your
Hmm.
focus, you can create exactly the life you want, probably from within a company, from maybe with what you're already doing, but also find things that you like to do that match up with it. Then it just all seems like fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the fun element is taken out of so many things. Yeah. So what do you feel then? So based on that, then, so you had this brand essentially that people are going to sponsor in the context of what we're talking about in terms of list building. How did that story continue then? How did you start to get that sponsorship, for want of a better phrase?
Yeah, the biggest thing, or the thing that where it dovetailed a little bit, was I recognized at some point that there was a way that I could create my own sponsorship with affiliate marketing.
Hmm.
And affiliate marketing, for anybody who doesn't know, is just a matter of essentially selling other people's products for a commission. I mean, you don't necessarily have to even know them. It's better if you do, but you find really great products and then you sell those, you get a commission. You don't have to deliver the products, you don't have to do anything. It's a great deal. So I figured out how to do that. And so that led me to, okay, now I'm my own sponsor. Like I can pretty much take my control my own destiny because I can control these sales. Uh, that led to deeper relationships with those types of companies because I became pretty good at it. And as that happened, I started to have more and more opportunity to grow with them. And in those cases, a lot of times when we were growing their business lines, or as I looked for ways that we could help them grow those business lines, we're like, the list was the most important part. Actually, all of them, almost every affiliate company without exception, the front end product, whatever I was selling, was only to get a name or a customer onto their list. And so, ding, 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 what's the most valuable piece of that? It must be the list. And I wasn't building a list, I was just building the list for other people. And that made me recognize that, okay, maybe we should do some of this for ourselves. And when we do this for other people, we should focus on that piece first. Because if we can get them the customer and the email so that they can have a relationship with that person, then they have much more leverage. That's worth a lot more to them. And also, it's easier to get that person's information to start that conversation than it is to sell them something. So we could do that at much higher scale. That's how we dovetailed from this idea and doing one thing to, hey, it's probably this might be the highest leverage piece and the way we can serve people, because now we have a one-to-one connection. Like now I can actually have a conversation with you rather than with everybody.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, love it. Yeah, because what affiliate marketing is such a great thing because it gives you the opportunity to be able to serve people at a higher level and not have to do all of the research and the product creation. All of that can come for some folks down the line, but you don't have to do research and the fulfillment, right? If you can build a list and if you can build a relationship with that list, if you have a sizable list, you will never have to worry about anything ever again. You just have to find what those needs are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then fulfill those needs. So ask your list, hey, what do you need, right? And just align with that. I know someone who had a pet list, right? A list of pet owners,
Mm-hmm.
and he shared with me how one of his highest selling products, there was two basically, kind of head for head as I understand, as I remember correctly, and they were pet insurance, right? It's a given. But
Sense.
get this, flashlights, right?
Flashlights.
Who would have thought? In conversing with his list, what he discovered was a lot of them had to walk early morning, late night, and they lived in areas where it was darker, but they had to take their dog or whatever out for dog walkers. You don't walk cats, obviously. So for dog walkers, some people do. I don't know. He figured out that, oh, okay, of course, yeah, this is a need that people on my mountain have, right? They're trying to get up the mountain top of the best. My job as a marketer to help them to get there. So what do they need? They need a flashlight, physical flashlight. So what he did is he sourced it, put an offer together, buy two, get one free or whatever the case may be, and nailed it. So it comes back to your point, is what I'm trying to say, Travis. Um, if if you're on the front end building that list and you have that relationship and that conversation, then you can serve those people, and you don't even have to. You just have to source somebody who has that, right? And that can be a
Yeah, you
digital
don't.
product or physical product. You don't even have to worry about the delivery of it. You just have to match those needs. Excuse me. Go ahead, Travis.
Exactly. Exactly. There's so much leverage. Like if you have your own, like if you have something that you really love to sell, then it's great. I mean, you should serve your people with that. But there will also be tons of opportunity to serve them with things that you don't have that other people do. And
Hmm.
there's so much leverage in every business relationship, every relationship like that. And that's another reason that I encourage people to start with their life, their lifestyle, and who they are.
Yes,
Because
yes.
when you come from that place, you don't have to do all this market research. You don't have to think about this stuff. If you're already a dog owner and you know that you have to get up in the morning and it's dark outside and all of your friends do the same thing that have the same thing, you don't have to ask them. You know that people need this shit. This
Hmm.
is something that will help you. I can light
Yeah,
the way for you.
yeah. So you're not saying I need to sell this flashlight. Who do I need to find? You're like, this is a need of already, from a community of already.
And I
Well,
know it
because I'm
because
one of them.
I am one of
I
you.
am that community. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I'm on the mountain with you. Yeah, exactly that.
And I
Yeah,
always
very
like to
good.
come from that standpoint. Is any one of those things, I don't even have to be a good salesperson because just automatically every single one of us recommends things to people that work for us. Hey, if I really like this, I want you to have it too because I think it's going to help you.
Hmm.
That's it.
Exactly. Very good. Yeah. No, and this is again. So while there are, and I've learned them from you, there are steps and methods and formulas and things to move and buttons to press to make these things happen. On a core level, at the very base level, it's all about finding a mountain and serving the people who want to get to the top, right? As you
Love how you
said. Yeah. One of the things I want to speak to, and then I think our time's nearly up, but one of the things, because I know you're a busy guy and I really appreciate you coming on board, but one of the things I want to speak to is a lot of people feel, and there is a massive, there's a way, obviously, to build a list via social media. We're not all 21 years old. We don't all look good in hot pants. Although you do have a Clark Kent Superman look about you today.
said.
Um, we're not 21 hot pants jigging our stuff in front of a camera. And even if we were, a lot of us don't want to do that anyhow. So can you speak to that? Because I know that the way that you served your clients and built them massive lists, and not only lists, to emphasize, it's not just about the list, it's about how you serve them and how that then generates an income for you and for your business to fund that life that you want, right? Build a list, build a life, right? Can you speak then to, because you didn't really do a lot of it on social media, correct?
Almost none.
Right.
To be quite honest, I've never really had any interest in organic traffic methods, almost any sort. From any
Right.
business that I've been in, I'm like, I want to be able to control things as much as possible so that I can create life around it. So you have expectations. You can create some
Hmm.
expectation or some realistic expectation based on something you can do or you can influence. And with social media, you just can't. Like you can't figure out what's going to work, what's going to hit the algorithm. Like you can try all day long, but I have no interest in that because it's
Hmm.
really slow, it's free, and it's owned completely by somebody else. So I really like methods of paid media. And even back when I built my fitness company, I did that almost all with direct mail because it's controllable. Like I know that
Hmm.
if I send 3,000 letters, I'm going to get X number of leads back. It happens every single time. And that's the same case with paid traffic methods. So that's what I teach first because it's controllable and I can do it overnight. Like
Hmm.
the first traffic source that we teach in the My Peeps course, for example, like
Hmm.
you can literally build a list
Oh
the
yeah.
next day. And it's
Hmm.
guaranteed you're going to get traffic. And even if you're the worst marketer in the world, you're going to get traffic for that.
Yeah.
And that's the first step. Like the first step
Hmm.
is to get started. And that's a really hard thing to do with social media. And I don't get it. I'm 50 years old and I didn't grow up with the internet. I didn't
The face
I
for
don't
radio.
live
I
in
have.
public.
Yeah.
I have no interest in that. And for most of every business that I've built or that I've worked with, that's not something that I'm a part of.
Mhm.
Then if you happen to already be good at that, the only place that I can help is you can take your good content and you can also pour fire on that, put it in front of a lot of other people, and
Mhm.
that can get you more attention. But I would much rather buy attention quickly than hope for attention slowly.
Yeah, very good. And I know when people hear paid traffic, they think, oh my word, I have to sell one of my kids or a kidney or both. That's simply not the case, correct?
$3, $5 a day, you can get started. You could take an initial campaign with one of the traffic sources, 30, $50, and you will have an email list at the end of it. And it's and it doesn't take a huge list to get started.
No.
I I've built like personally, I've never had a huge email list. Like I
Mhm.
build the email list for projects,
Yeah. Hmm.
but for me personally in my personal business, my list is always very small in comparison
Hmm.
to, but every single time I mail that list, something good comes from it, whether it's
Yeah.
a new partnership, whether it's direct revenue, whether it's a new offer.
Hmm.
There's always leverage in that. It doesn't have to be very big. I mean, just for example, I'm thinking about this. People getting started with cold traffic, this can be really
Yeah.
intimidating because you think, oh, I need a big list. I need to have thousands. I teach people to build really big lists. I love that. We built a huge list, 220,000 leads in 10 days. Those things are
Hmm.
possible. They're not necessary. I
Yeah.
built a list last year during one of usually a terrible time to sell any kind of coaching or anything like that. But
Hmm.
right before Christmas, I built a list of about 100. There's 130 people on that list. And we just put an offer in front of them. It was just an idea. It didn't exist before. Put an offer in front of the people, brand new list, 6 emails, $9,000. So
Yeah.
that's 130 people on a list,
Right.
nine
Exactly.
thousand
And for some,
dollars.
that's a monthly income. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that happened
Hmm.
that was brand new within the course of 2 weeks. So it's possible to have a relatively small list and still do really well. You can do it's
Hmm.
it's possible. I've seen people do 10 times that with that same
Yeah.
size list.
Yeah. It really is that old adage of it's not about the list, it's about the relationship with the list. And that is so, that's what I've seen again and again. And when I've worked with clients, it's all about, um, there's, there is that mix and where people are just product focused, then they miss out on so much because they don't have that relationship with that list. Just a curiosity more than anything. You know that offer that you spoke, or generally speaking, what I've seen work better, and see get your input on this, where I've seen people build lists. One of the things where it's a fail, so to speak, is that they're trying to sell a new offer to that, an unproven offer to that list, and then they blame the
Mhm.
list. Could you speak to that a little? What's the answer to that?
Yeah,
You know?
the answer to that more often than not is that people aren't being genuinely honest with their list.
Hmm.
They're trying to sell them something. And you don't need to sell people stuff. You need to help them buy things that are going to make their life better. And if it's something that you 100% believe in and it's something that comes from your soul, like that you believe, like genuinely, this part of me, and I use this, I think this is absolutely necessary. And then I recommend it to you. Now it becomes something that is part of the relationship. Like it furthers and it makes the relationship better. That's never comes across as a pitch.
Hmm.
People pitch way too hard when all you need to do is help people. And so
Very
I
good.
think that especially with a brand new list or with a newer list, like by pitching people, this is the thing. I think I have to sell something. And there's so much sales training out there. There's so many people out there that tell you that this is how you have to monetize and this is what has to happen. And then there's tactics and techniques and all of this manipulation. It just all of a sudden it doesn't become you anymore. And when that gets in the way of the relationship, where if you're honestly trying to help somebody make a good decision, like that can
Mhm.
further the relationship. So we get
Yeah.
afraid. So there becomes this like hit and miss. Oh, you shouldn't sell anything or you should pitch all the time. And so I just don't think you should ever pitch. I think the relationship should always be furthered by whatever you're offering.
Mhm.
And in that case, the list isn't the problem.
Yes. No, beautiful. Go ahead. No,
One
please
other,
continue.
one more small point to that.
Hmm.
Like we often think about this as the list and the list is shit, but there is no such thing as a list. There is one email to the person on the other end.
Oh, That's a keeper. That's
That's the
great.
only.
That's I'm cutting that out. That's brilliant. Yeah, no, absolutely. Because yeah, what can I add to that? That's phenomenal. That's yeah, because it is all about that one person at the end who's reading that. How can I help them today? And if it goes out to 1,000 people, just to keep the number simple, well then if it's the right people, then all of those you need that flashlight and they're fine. But you are speaking to that one person.
And that's one of the things we talk about this. We talk about this a little bit in the course. That I think is of paramount importance. Is this isn't really like a one-to-many relationship. This is a one-to-one relationship at scale. If we look at that, if we look at it that way, then we have that kind of pressure either. It makes it a lot easier to email when I'm emailing Harry. And I know that I'm sending you a message. I don't have to, I don't think that. If I
Mhm.
think, oh, I'm sending that to 10,000 people, that's a much different story. But sending a message to you, that's personal. It came from me. And so it's really easy for me to do that. And oftentimes you step on stage, you become somebody different,
Mhm.
and you don't have to do that with email. It's just brilliant. I think emails, like,
Yeah,
that's why I think email is the most powerful tool, and it will continue to be for a long time. And if you keep it simple, you can change your entire life by doing just this one thing.
brilliant. I think on that lovely note, I think that's where we leave it for today. I'm gonna, with permission, I'm gonna pull you back into the studio and the virtual studio, and we'll talk some more. But I definitely appreciate your time today, Travis. Some great information and great mindset that I genuinely believe is really going to help people. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Harry. This has been great, man. Your questions are awesome. This is, yeah, anytime. I hope I get to come back soon.
That you will.